Hello and welcome to UCentral News. Thanks for joining us today on this Election Tuesday. I'm Patrick Talbot.
And I'm Jessica Higgs. Up next, we are going to take it live to Jackson Rowbottom, who is out at a polling place right now. Jackson, how's it going?
Welcome, guys. We are here at Highland Park Baptist Church, just off of Black Wilder and Ayers Street, and it is beautiful fall weather outside right now, and it is also election time, election day happening today. And if you haven't already, we would recommend everyone get out and vote. As you can see behind us right now, cars coming in, cars pulling out of the parking lot, everyone casting their votes for who they want nominated for this election. You have a few hours left, just over 2.5 hours left, to get down to your polling place and vote for who you want. A lot of important things happening for this election, and we're going to go over that in detail throughout the show. But for now, back to everyone at the desk.
Thanks, Jackson. We're going to check back in with you later.
And next, we have our own UCO political science student, Gareth Morton, in-house keeping an eye on key races with us. Garrett, what are you going to be focusing on tonight?
Well, guys, there's not a whole lot to focus on right now because the results aren't in, but I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the races we're going to be looking over this evening. First of all, we're going to be looking at gubernatorial race in Oklahoma, Joy Hoffmeister versus Kevin Stitt. Some of the things that I think are going to be important for this race are going to be education and abortion rights after the Dobbs case earlier this year. On the national level, some Senate races we're going to be looking at are going to be Raphael Warnock versus Herschel Walker. I think this race is going to be important because Warnock held a close win early on last year for a special election, and we're going to see if he can maintain that momentum going forward. Next, we're going to be looking at John Fetterman versus Dr. Mehmet Oz. Oz has gotten a lot of backlash for being another reality TV star trying to get into the political limelight. He's been not shying away from calling out John Fetterman for having a stroke earlier on the election cycle and not shying away from running anyways. Also, we're going to be looking at Tim Ryan versus J.D. Vance in Ohio. Sorry, I went off. Let's go back. Again, Tim Ryan has been going against J.D. Vance, kind of calling J.D. Vance kind of a brown noser in the election. Vance is the author of the film-adapted book, Hillbilly Elegy. Hillbilly Elegy was kind of a mixture of things. Vance has gone back and forth between pro-Trump and not, but we'll go ahead and toss it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Gareth. And we're going to keep an eye on races across the country as well as races here in the state of Oklahoma.
That's right, and I went out to vote already, and temperatures were actually pretty decent, but it was a little wet the first hours of voting. Amber, what's the rest of the day going to look like?
If you went out this morning, then yeah, it was a bit of the cooler side, a little bit more wet and possibly raining, but if you went out...
Thanks, Amber. We're having
technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. We'll get back with weather here in just a minute. But let's go ahead and bring CJ in real quick, who can talk about what he's going to be looking for tonight in terms of any potential breaking news. CJ?
That's right. Well, basically what we're going to be looking for was we're going to be looking for polling anomalies, different things going on at different polling places. Just some of the normal election night stuff that you don't see. So we do have a couple of news tidbits right now. There were some poll workers in Tulsa that were already been replaced. Some voters were saying that they were not receiving ballots, and Tulsa police has stepped in and investigated, and those polling workers have been replaced at the moment. There was also a bomb threat about 20 minutes outside of New Orleans. So that polling place was moved just a couple of blocks away. And we also have been getting some reports that some polling places have been losing supplies at a rapid pace. So that could cause some waiting issues at the polls.
Okay, we appreciate that, CJ.
That's a good sign, though. That's good. That means people are getting out the vote, and that's exciting. But definitely stay safe.
And we trust that you'll keep all of us informed, and we'll go to you if anything develops. We're going to toss it over to our Break It Down room with Maury Blair, who's going to interview our guests. Maury, what do you have for us?
Room here, our brand new remodeled room. With me today is Dr. Michael Jenkins, who is professor in our School of Criminal Justice here at UCO. He's been kind enough to visit us this afternoon. Dr. Jenkins, thank you for joining us.
Sure.
And if you would, with this election issue, a couple of our issues that we've in our survey with students was one of them, of course, social justice, which could be LGBTQ plus rights, criminal justice as well, also gun control. With this election, there are quite a few things out there that could be salient. Could you kind of boil down to us what you see as most important from your perspective in law?
Well, I think terms that we use, criminal justice reform, social reform, they're accurate. They're too big, not precise. We have a problem, for instance, with the Oklahoma County Jail. It's been a problem for 30 years. First time I entered that jail right after it was built, falling apart. So how do we fix that? That's an individual issue. Mental health and how officers are trained and address people with mental health issues on the street, because it's very problematic. And an officer, when he arrives, doesn't know if somebody is. How do they recognize? And then how do they deal with it? And how do they de-escalate it so it doesn't turn into... All these things kind of combine to one big mash, and nobody's actually dealing, in my opinion, with the individual issues. Like the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Just can't try to eat.
And in the time we have here, what do you think we might see come out of this election if, in terms of if the Congress changes over? Are we going to look at a different approach to the law?
I hope we see a little bit more sanity. A lot of folks are going around terms that sundry. I don't think that helps anybody. We are at a point in our society where people with different political views aren't talking to each other. It doesn't do anybody any good. So I hope that the issues, the real issues now are inflation, the economy, putting gas in your tank. We all feel that. We all feel that when we go to the grocery store that we're spending $100 or $150 and we're not getting. So it makes everything else tougher. So I hope they would address those issues. There would be an energy policy that takes into account all stakeholders and is actually realistic, solving some problems. That's what I'd like to see, people talking to each other again.
Excellent. Dr. Jenkins, thank you. And now let's go to Sam Kozlowski for some news on voter turnout. Thank you.
Statewide, there has been a lot of chatter about the upcoming elections and poor voter turnout. So the question is, why has the turnout been so low, and how many people will actually go out and vote?
There's a lot of distrust on both sides. I think that might be downplaying a bit of what is going on with voter turnout.
Oklahoma is no stranger to poor voter turnout, such as being the 50th state in the nation during the 2020 presidential election. The general student turnout poll I took involving 90 college students showed a 72% turnout as opposed to the statewide 55% in 2020.
If you're college educated, you're much more likely to vote than somebody who's not. So we'll see how that turns out, if just getting more people in the educational pipeline, if that helps or not.
Early voting takes place from November 2nd to the 4th, and the official U.S. election is Tuesday, November 8th. Reporting from UCentral News, I'm Sam Kozlowski.
Thanks, Samuel. So far, the voter turnout today across the state and across the nation has turned out well.
That's right. Yeah, let's check in with Jackson to get an update from the polls. Jackson, what can you update us on?
All right, we're back here, Highland Park Baptist Church, right across on the corner of Blackwelder and Ayers. And let me tell you what, you missed it when we got out here this evening. There were cars on this immediate street behind me, lined to and from, coming both sides, trying to get in here. The crowds have dined down just a little bit, but as you can see, cars still parked all over the parking lot here, people coming in, people coming out, trying to cast their votes for this election. And as I stated earlier, a lot of big things happening, a lot of important nominations coming up. And as we go throughout the night, as we go throughout the evening, it's going to be something we try to elaborate even more. But for now, just under 2.5 hours left to be able to get to your polling location, cast your vote to make a difference. Back to you guys right now at the desk.
Thank you so much, Jackson. And don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with your weather update.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back to your election newscast today. My name is Amber Poston. Thanks for tuning into UCentral News. And right now, if you're outside of the polling places, it feels like it is 76 degrees outside. Well, and it feels like 78, but it's currently 76, and the humidity is a little bit higher. If you're out this morning at the polling booths, it felt pretty humid outside. It has cooled down a little bit at the same time, so it does feel pretty nice out there. Having a little bit of issues. There we go. All right, so polling weather, we're going to be covering that today, and a cold front is coming in. You'll be seeing that on Thursday and Friday, so enjoy your cold weekend coming up. And then right now, we are going to be seeing a little bit of rain chances that will be happening this week as well. Now, our current conditions throughout the state, it is 75 up in Oklahoma City, 75 up in Enid, and Miami is 63. So we're seeing a bunch of 70s and some cooler 60s right in Idabel, or yes, up in Idabel, it is 56 degrees, so feeling pretty nice up there. Now, tonight is going to be 66 degrees with pretty high humidity as well. So when it does get closer to sunset, and if you're still outside at the polls around 7 o'clock, you will be experiencing a little bit of a cooler temperature, which it'll feel pretty nice out there. So tonight we are looking across the state. It will be a bunch of 60s, a bunch of 66 up in Oklahoma City, 62 up in Enid, and 55 up in Guyman. So a little bit chilly out there, so we are going to be feeling some pretty cool fall temperatures tonight. And now tomorrow, we will be feeling a little bit on the more warmer side of things. So 77 up in Oklahoma City, and 75 up in Woodward, and 74 up in Guyman. And so right today, if you went outside around 7 this morning, it felt like 55 degrees outside. If you went to the polling booths around like 9 a.m., that's what it felt like outside, because it was a little bit on the humid side, but it did feel pretty nice. And right now, or around this afternoon, it felt like 76 degrees outside, which it felt pretty nice. And it still feels pretty nice outside, so enjoy that temperature. And tonight, we will be feeling 77. Now we'll take a look at our weekly weather right now is that excuse me, so a bunch of 70s throughout this week, and then that cold front comes in with a little bit of showers that is coming up from the north part of the state. So that cold front is coming in as you've seen that temperature drop from 65 up to 35 that evening, or the next 2 evenings, and then you'll be feeling those cold temperatures on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 40s and 50s, and sticking in the 40s on Monday as well. So enjoy your weekend, and do not forget to vote. You still have a couple hours left, so back to you.
Thank you, Amber. And when we return, our Lauren Henry will make sure you're in the know with the latest social media update. We're back after this.
To believe in the power of possibility, to always move forward but never forget where I came from, to value hard work, ingenuity, and hospitality. On one hand, my people are rough and rugged. On the other, refined and elegant. They taught me how to love beautiful things and cherish my past, to seek out adventure, eat well, and to have a good time. So I keep their traditions alive every place I go. They call me Oklahoma City, but you can call me the modern frontier.
UCentral News as a whole, you got to be in those different areas, like being on camera, being off camera, being in the control room. And so I feel like that is what prepared me most about being in the workplace.
UCentral and the mass comm department has provided me all the tools and the fundamentals that are needed in order to thrive well and thrive fast at my job.
Maybe it's time to hit the road and visit a place where stories unfold. This is the land of the ultimate road trip, with sights old and new on Route 66. There's fun to be had, so much to do, and a few new surprises before you get through. Oklahoma has the most miles to share of Route 66. It's really quite rare. TravelOK.com will show you the way. Come see for yourself this iconic highway.
I'm Lauren Henry, here to keep you up to date with everything involving social media on this election night. And the senatorial candidate race is on its way. We have Senator James Lankford taking to Twitter, tweeting about how 64,000 migrants evaded Border Patrol along the southern border in October, an average of 2,000 each day. He also went on to say that the open southern border is a security crisis. Madison Horn, his opponent, responded by saying, "You've had 8 years to solve this crisis. I look forward to tackling our immigration issues versus yelling on Twitter to score points." And in terms of the governor, we have Joy Hoffmeister, who's running as our Democratic governor. She tweeted a picture of her granddaughter, and she said her future and the futures of Oklahoma's 700,000 school children are on my mind as Oklahomans make their way to the polls. Our kids are counting on us to get this right. Governor Kevin Stitt has tweeted about how during the pandemic, nursing homes and long-term care facilities were among those hit the hardest. And what about our other senatorial candidates? We have Michael L. Delaney talking about how Oklahomans need affirmative industry policy. Many are fighting for this now, he says. In government policy lies the future for prosperity in the U.S. and the world. As for our other senatorial candidate, we have Libertarian Kenneth Blevins. Now, Kenneth has not tweeted anything, but he has retweeted the Libertarian-in-Chief, Todd Hagopine. He says that this is a two-way race with a Democrat and a Libertarian. They have to cheat to beat Libertarians. Don't let them. And now, for some poll information, know your election rights. If you're still in line when the polls close, stay in line. You have the right to vote. And if you make a mistake on your ballot, don't hesitate to ask for a new one. If the machines are down at your polling place, you can always ask for a paper ballot. And if the poll worker says your name is not on the list of registered voters, or if you're at the wrong polling place, ask for a provisional ballot. If you have a disability, election officials must make reasonable accommodations to help you vote. And if you run into problems, experience intimidation, or have questions, call or text the Election Protection Hotline. Back to you two at the desk.
Thank you so much, Lauren. That's really important, too, especially in such an important race. So make sure you still do have a couple hours until those polls close. But we will have so much more for you when we return.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back, and we are going to talk about the GOP. There's actually a large watch party with Governor Kevin Stitt.
Yep.
I know that Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell is going to be there, who's second to the governor. United States Senator James Lankford. I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Inhofe showed up at that too, even though he is stepping down.
Yes.
And then Stephanie Bice, Tom Cole, both U.S. representatives of congressional districts. Secretary Ryan Walters, who is running for that state superintendent race, which will be very interesting to watch tonight. That'll definitely one we want to keep our eye on.
For sure. For sure. And we're going to have our Brady Gray at that watch party later. But
he'll be able to keep us informed.
Yeah, he'll be able to keep us informed. We're going to have people all over the state covering several watch parties. I think
we actually do have Brady. So let's take it to Brady.
Let's toss it to Brady. Brady?
Difficulties with that live shot, but we will check back with him when we can. Our also UCentral's own Jocelyn Schifferdecker is also at Joy Hoffmeister's watch party, the Democratic candidate for the governor. So let's check in with Jocelyn and see what's going on there.
That's right. I'm live outside of the Oklahoma History Center here in Oklahoma City, where Joy Hoffmeister will be having her campaign watch party later tonight. Now, as a reminder, Hoffmeister is the Democratic candidate running for state governor against current governor Kevin Stitt. In the last couple of weeks, Hoffmeister has had a couple of endorsements, including one historic one from the five largest tribes in Oklahoma. Now, this is the first time that the five largest tribes in Oklahoma have endorsed a candidate for state governor. A key issue that Hoffmeister highlighted throughout her campaign is education. Hoffmeister is actually the current superintendent of public instruction. So she said that she has fought for public education in the last 4 years, and she will continue to do so. Now, again, the watch party is happening tonight. The doors will be opening at 6. It's happening in this building right behind me, and we will keep you updated with everything that is happening right there here at UCentral. So make sure to tune in. Reporting live from Oklahoma City, Jocelyn Schifferdecker, UCentral News.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. And when we come back,
we're actually going to go to Brady. We've got Brady now. He's finally there. Brady, you're at the GOP watch party. What's the environment like? What are you seeing?
Yeah, we're here at the GOP watch party at the Embassy Suites right off of Northwest Expressway. They're getting ready for setting up the catering and everything right now, but we are going to be with you all evening from here. Feel free to send it to me whenever. Kevin Stitt will be here. James Lankford will be here. Ryan Walters will be here. A majority of all the big names in the GOP in Oklahoma are here right now. They will be here shortly, rather. But for right now, I'm going to send it back to you guys at the desk.
Brady and Jocelyn, we'll keep everybody posted on both of those watch parties. But when we come back, we'll send it to the Break It Down room with our Miracle and Ainsley. But stay tuned for that.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Miracle Garrett.
And I'm Ainsley Martinez, Editor-in-Chief of The Vista. And tonight at 6, we will be discussing the top 5 issues impacting students and faculty today. So Miracle, you actually interviewed a lot of students about topics. What issues stood out to them the most?
Yeah, so we actually interviewed over 100 and we identified the top 5 issues on number 1 being economy, 2 being abortion and healthcare, 3 being education, 4th being gun laws, and the 5th being social justice and LGBT. So all of those are actually in line with the national average, with economy being the number 1 issue.
Yeah, and along with discussing these issues and diving deep into them, we will also be talking about the gubernatorial candidates' positions on these issues. So definitely tune in for that.
Yep. So check back in with us at 6 o'clock to check our election coverage and break.
And Ainsley. Right now we are joined back at the desk with CJ, and we're just going to check in with you. You got any breaking news for us, CJ?
Not yet. We're still watching that situation up in Tulsa with those poll workers being replaced. They have been replaced after a police investigation, so that seems to have been done and dealt with. We are also getting reports of polling places running out of paper supplies as well, so there might be some delays if you are going later in the evening. But for right now, that is all the breaking news that we are covering.
Good to know. We need to stay safe. We're going to check back in with Jackson one more time at polls before they close in about 2 hours. Jackson.
All right, welcome back. Good to see each and every one of you. Now, before we kick it back to the desk, just to reiterate one more time, we have about 2 hours left if you're wanting to go ahead and cast your ballot. As you can see, far less cars than when we started the show. That's because people are starting to come in and cast their votes. And I would suggest everyone go out there and do the same. A lot of election stuff happening tonight. Important to get those ballots in. That's where we're going to leave off for the ballot portion. Back to you, everybody at the desk.
Thanks, Jackson. And we are just a minute basically away from the first round of polls closing. Jessica, we're in for a great night across the nation, but we're also in for a very busy night. A lot of elections we're keeping an eye on here in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, just really important races all across the country. Like you said, polls are going to be closing here any minute now on the East Coast. We will keep you informed with races everywhere. So we'll see you back here at 6 o'clock. I'm Jessica Higgs.
I'm Patrick Talbot. Thank you for joining us on this edition of UCentral News. As she just said, we'll be back at 6 o'clock.